We as humans use lots of resources, as you can see in this picture, and we gotta do stuff with it. So we use the resource, we get some sort of service out of it, and then it goes somewhere. This particular picture is a landfill, but that is not the only option. So this video is going to explore solid waste management. So notice it says solid waste. This is not talking about water waste. And specifically, we're going to take a look at Montgomery County, Maryland. There is some information in this video that are kind of like bigger scale, but for the most part, a lot of this is very specific to the county. So it may not apply to where you live. So let's talk about municipal solid waste. That's what this MSW stands for. And let's talk about it as the whole scale, like entire United States. So in 2018, which is the most recent data I have, unfortunately, we as human beings in the United States, we in a year got rid of 292 million tons of waste. And I'm using the word waste specifically because trash usually is talking about like landfill and stuff like that. Waste literally just means you had it and you got rid of it, whether you recycled or composted or whatever. So this is a graph of just everything that was gotten rid of. And it breaks up the categories. So everything that was gotten rid of, about 23% was paper and paperboard, 4% was glass, etc. I'm not going to read through all of these. Now, I know that 292 million tons sounds like a lot, but it might be a little bit easier to scale that on the per person scale. So of people in the United States, if we were to divide that number by the number of people we have, that's about 5 pounds of waste per person per day. Just let that sit with you. You, on average, get rid of 5 pounds of waste a day. Now you might be thinking, no, I don't. and that's fair, right? Like you're like, there's no way. But imagine that you got rid of a fridge or a car. Those things are really heavy items. So this is an average throughout the year. And some people are going to do a lot more, especially if you're getting rid of those bigger materials. So if you're a little shocked by that number, you should be. But keep in mind, it's not because you're getting rid of that much paper a day. It's probably because you have some big things you get rid of that is increasing that number. Now, within the United States, of all 292 million tons, we recycle and compost about 32% of this. Remember, this graph is of everything we get rid of. This is not saying this ends up in the trash. Some of this is recycled or composted. So about a third of our waste is kind of reused for other means. Now that sounds good, and I guess I shouldn't be sad about that. But here's the thing. It could be better. So let me highlight some things for you. So paperboard, 23%. We can recycle that. Glass, we can recycle. So let me put some R's here. We can recycle, we can recycle. Metals, we can recycle. Plastics, for the most part, we can recycle. There, that's a hubbub. But for now, let's put in the recycle. Yard trimmings, we can compost. Food, we can compost. Wood, we can compost. Rubber and leather, textiles, and other, we're in the rudimentary phases of being able to recycle these materials. So for now, I'm not going to include them. So if I were to add all of these up together, this would be about 89%. So all of the waste we get rid of, 89% of it should be able to be recycled or composted. And we're at 32%. So this is why I'm not thrilled about that 32% number, because that's actually low compared to what we could be doing. Also, if it didn't surprise you, the United States has the most amount of trash per person. And usually the richer a country is, the more likely that holds true. So we're not the only ones getting rid of waste, but we are the worst or the best, depending on which way you want to look at it. So there's a lot of work for us to do. So let's narrow this down now to Montgomery County, Maryland, where we have about 1 million residents here. So our waste pathway is actually a little bit different than a lot of other waste pathways. So the first thing that happens is you take your trash bins And this is talking about trash in this case. So things that you're not recycling, things that you are not composting, these are things that you are getting rid of and not going to be reused in any way. So you put your trash bin out at the curb, or if you're in an apartment building, you put it in a dumpster, or who knows. But you put your trash in a way that a trash truck can come and get your trash, like you see in this picture. Now, all of our trash trucks in Montgomery County, they go to the Shady Grove transfer station, which is in Shady Grove. So like kind of Gaithersburg, Rockville border. So these hundreds of trash trucks every single day are going here, and then you can see that they're dumping all of their trash into this big old pit. And it goes in this pit, and you see this big bulldozer here. And what you can't see, because it's kind of off screen, I'll kind of like draw, I don't know if that's where it is, but essentially the people that are working down in the pit are just making sure there's nothing like crazy in there, like bodies. I shouldn't say that. But like crazy, weird, bulky things, like car parts, like car engines, like trees. So they're just kind of making sure there's not anything that's going to be harmful to their equipment. Then what this bulldozer does is he's kind of going back and forth, and he's going to push all of this waste into this big old pit that's on this floor. And underneath this pit is a train car. Yep. Just like that. It is a nice big, train car. And what it's doing is it's trying to compact this trash, and these train cars are also compacting this trash too. So this trash isn't going to stay here. This is essentially a central point for all these trash trucks to go. If you're familiar with the Shady Grove area, I mean, you got the interstate here, you've got MD200 here, you got a lot of like big roads here, really easy for the trash trucks to get in and out. And then they're going to kind of sort it briefly, and then they're going to put it all in this train, and then the train's going to compact it. And every day, this train then takes a drive up to Dickerson. If you're not familiar with Dickerson, so it's in North County, and it's kind of, it's rural, it's farmy out there. It's a one-lane road going up there, very few houses, lots of farms for both vegetables, fruits, as well as livestock. And here is where we have the Covanta Resource Recovery Facility. So again, this is in Dickerson, Maryland. Still here in Montgomery County, though. Now, the Covanta Resource Recovery Facility is kind of what you see in this picture. It is an incinerator. It's burning all of our trash. But notice the title of this company, Resource Recovery. Because we're not just incinerating it. Any fuel, like trash, so trash is a fuel. It's not a great fuel, but it is a fuel. Anything that we burn is releasing energy. And what we as humans in our ingenious selves have learned how to do is trap that energy or take advantage of that energy to produce electricity. So what Covanta does is it incinerates our trash like you see here. It uses this fire, this heat, in order to boil water. And when you boil water, you turn it into steam. And then that steam is really high powered, and it is turning a turbine. And turbines work with a bunch of different technologies we're not going into, but it spins that turbine and it's able to generate electricity. So we at the Covanta Resource Recovery Facility burn enough trash to fuel 30 to 40,000 homes in Montgomery County. That's not like an overwhelming majority, but that's still a lot. And that is electricity that came from a resource we were going to have, trash, unfortunately. And it didn't come from burning coal or oil or natural gas. It came from a resource we were already getting rid of. So it's really cool, right? All of our trash goes here. Now you might be like, well, why have a train go here versus trucks go here? And the main reason for that is the location. The incinerator is pretty far away. It's at the far end of the North County. To get there, you have to take one-lane roads, And if I'm in Tacoma Park, if I'm a trash truck driver in Tacoma Park, I have to collect all that trash, and then I have to go all the way up to Dickerson to unload my trash on a 1-lane road. It's just not feasible to have all of these trucks, these hundreds and hundreds of trucks, driving along these narrow roads and very few roads up into Dickerson. It's much better just to get them in a super centralized place and then have a train go once a day up into Dickerson. So it's actually really good. Now, just because you burn trash doesn't mean it's gone, right? So we have a couple of end products of the incineration process, one of which is ash. Right? When you burn things, you're going to have ash left over. Now, the ash we will also put on a train, but this train actually goes to a landfill in Northern Virginia. So those guys are collecting all of their trash and putting it in a big pit like you see in this picture. We don't do that here in Montgomery County, not anymore at least. But at the end of the day, places that run landfills have to cover their trash. This is so that they are reducing the amount of pests that can get into their trash. So thinking about birds, rodents, and things like that. So during the day, they're adding trash to a certain part of the pile, and at the end, they usually are taking dirt or sand and covering it. Instead, we sell them our ash, not for that much, to be honest. We sell them our ash, we want to get rid of it, and they need to cover their piles with something. So they'll take our ash, and it's a win-win situation. So it's pretty nice. So that's one end product, is the ash. The other end product are metals. We are not burning that trash hot enough to melt metal, which is fine. We don't need it to get that hot. But there's going to be metals left over that just don't get burned. We actually take those metals. We collect all of those metals. We actually send it back to the Shady Grove Transfer Station, because at the Shady Grove Transfer Station is the recycling center. And we'll talk more about the recycling center in another video. So we actually will take metals out of our trash and make sure they get recycled. So if you ever feel bad about throwing a tin can into your trash can, know it will get recycled. Though it would be best if you just recycled it in the first place. But this is trash. I mean, if you can recycle it, you should recycle it. If you can compost it, you should compost it. But what about like hazardous trash? First of all, what is that? And what are you supposed to do with it? So hazardous waste is any substance that can cause harm to humans or the environment. As you can imagine, if this is stuff we're burning, that's not so great. Even though the Covanta Resource Recovery Facility is cleaning the air that goes back into the environment after burning, you still don't want to be putting hazardous waste in there because we can't 100% clean every single pollutant. Also, you really don't want hazardous waste maybe falling out of the garbage truck or, getting stuck in the machinery, because that can cause harm to the people working that equipment. Or if it's on a garbage truck and falls out, getting into the environment. So this list that's about to come up here, you probably didn't even realize was considered hazardous waste. So from this list, what you should be doing is taking these items to the Shady Grove Transfer Station, the same place all those trash trucks go. But there's a human-facing side of the Shady Grove Transfer Station. This is where you can drop off your electronics, scrap metal, such as different appliances, paint, nail polish, printer ink. We got batteries, all sorts of different light bulbs. So honestly, anything that has any kind of chemical associated with it should not go in your trash. You should be taking it so that it gets properly handled as hazardous waste. This is also a free resource for citizens of Montgomery County, of residents of Montgomery County. So you can take advantage of it. Just like how Shady Grove is a central place for all the trash trucks, it's also a great central place for residents of Montgomery County as well. They have really great signage, and I'm saying this from experience. I probably go there twice a year. I keep a box of my batteries that have died, of, different things that just go bad, and I go there twice a year. It's really accessible to everyone. So make sure, again, that these don't go in trash. You need to actually take these to the Shady Grove Transfer Station, to the kind of public-facing side of Shady Grove Transfer Station. So last but not least, I always feel bad talking about trash because ideally we have none of it, right? We're using these resources and then we're like, goodbye. We're at an age now where, it's not okay, but we still have a lot of resources. That is not always going to be the case. And there's going to come a day that we're going to be screwed. And for some resources, that might be sooner than later. So what we really should be doing, you have probably heard of this, reduce, reuse, and recycle, but I'm going to add another one, which is discard responsibly, because sometimes you can't do all of these. What you may not have realized is that these are in order. You first should try to reduce in the first place. If you can't reduce, then at least try to reuse as much as you can. If you can't reuse it, then recycle it. If you can't recycle it, then make sure you're discarding responsibly. So to give you a very quick example, plastic bags, I like using plastic bags. So first thing to reduce, maybe I use a canvas bag instead of the plastic bag. Okay, well, I forgot to bring my bags to the grocery store, so I had to get a plastic bag. Well, then let me try to reuse it. And so maybe I'm going to reuse it as a trash bag liner or a trash can liner. So the small trash cans in your bathroom, I might use a plastic bag for that so I don't have to buy plastic bags for my trash can. So at least I got one reuse out of it. Well, let's say I don't have small trash cans and I want to recycle it. In a future video, we'll talk about how you're supposed to recycle plastic bags, but that'd be the best thing for me to do. If I'm in an area where I can't even do that, then I should discard responsibly. So actually throw it in the trash. Don't throw it outside or anything like that. So us, as the United States, not doing so great with our waste management. I guess we're managing it, but not well, right? We have a lot of waste. We're the most in the world, and we are recycling and composting so little of it comparatively. Here in Montgomery County, it's pretty cool that we at least incinerate our trash to generate electricity. There is only a couple dozen places in the United States that do that. That's actually a little bit more common in Europe, but pretty rare here in the States. So we're at least doing something right. We're getting something out of our trash. But just keep all of this in mind. Next time you go to throw something away, is there something else that you could do with that instead?